how long does it take to get over this? Like, I just want to feel normal again. You never really get over it. So that is exactly what a friend of mine told me when I was getting over my narcissistic ex. And I know that she didn't mean to be completely discouraging, but it was absolutely the most discouraging thing that I could have heard at the time. Do I think it takes you forever to get over a narcissistic person or a toxic person at the very least? Absolutely not. And I'll get more into that at the end of the video. What I want to talk about first is some common mistakes that we as survivors make while we're trying to heal from a narcissistic person. One of the most common mistakes that I see is that people are still looking for closure and accountability from the narcissistic person. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that's never going to happen. And what I mean by closure and accountability is they want some sort of validation that they meant something to them, or they do want them to admit the things that they did. Like, the closure in that part can look different for every individual, but the closure that you deserve, and definitely the accountability aspect, is never going to happen. And you're going to stay wanting something that you're never going to get, and that's going to make you angry, and it's going to make you bitter, and it's going to make you upset, and it keeps you in this cycle. When you can accept the fact that you are responsible for your own closure, you can 100% get through this faster. Now, is that fair? Absolutely not. It's completely not fair that we're in charge of our own closure. But unfortunately, it just is what it is. I also see people getting really trapped, because I've been coaching people for almost 2 years at this point, and one of the most common things that I see is that people wait until they feel like doing the right actions, as opposed to just doing the right actions regardless of how they feel. Now, this is a balancing act. You do need to meet yourself where you're at. But I'm just gonna be honest, you're never gonna really feel like developing new habits and routines. You're never gonna really feel like taking the steps to go no contact. You're never really going to feel like doing the work that it takes to heal from this. But at some point in time, you just have to start taking those steps. So what I encourage you to do in this is take the small steps. Meet yourself where you're at. One of the best ways that you can start developing new routines is doing things that you enjoy and that take care of you. So let's say that you really enjoy cooking, but you haven't cooked in a while. Instead of saying, I'm gonna cook myself dinner every night this week, just go for 3 nights this week. That's almost half, right? And then if you hit all 3 nights this week, then maybe go for 4 the next. Sometimes when we try to get back to like complete normal functioning when we're in a pretty depressive state, that can actually set us up for more failure, because we'll compare ourselves to how we used to be. And when we don't reach that, then we feel like we failed. Learning how to manage your triggers is also, oh my gosh, I just realized that my cat has been in the frame the entire time. You know, I don't really feel like starting this over, so we'll just make it a game. How many times has my cat's tail flickered up until this point? Can y'all comment and tell me? I'll keep track with it after now. Learning how to manage your triggers, though, is very, very important, because a big mistake that I see people make is instead of learning how to manage them, they just avoid them. Because if they can avoid them, then they don't have the consequence of the response of the triggers. And so we give ourselves this false sense of healing. And then we go out to the grocery store, and then we smell someone that's wearing their cologne or their perfume, and we get re-triggered, and we feel like we've taken 4 steps back. When really we've not taken 4 steps back, it's that we actually never took any steps forward to begin with. If you want to know more about how to manage triggers, I did make a quick video, and I think I'm going to put it right here if I do that correctly. If not, I'll link it in the description. One of the two. I've never met anybody that has dealt with these kind of relationships that doesn't deal with triggers. They're going to happen, so you have to learn how to manage them. Another common mistake is that we can actually keep ourselves isolated. Now look, if anybody understands this, it's me. When I left my narcissistic ex, it was in the heart of the COVID pandemic, so the world was literally shut down and in isolation, but I really had to force myself to get out of that, because when you're isolated and you're stuck in your own thoughts, you are 100% gonna stay stuck in this negative, repetitive loop in your mind. It's a very dangerous place to be, and it can cause you to make emotionally based decisions, like breaking your no contact, or you feel like you miss them, and like all of this kind of stuff. But when you get out there and you start making new memories again, spending time with your friends, spending time with your family, or just going out and just meeting new people, or just going to a place that you've not been to before. But when you can actually pull yourself out of this place of isolation, you're gonna break the cycle that you've been in the relationship this entire time. They wanted you isolated, so they did everything in their power to keep you isolated. Don't allow yourself to stay in the power of a relationship that you're no longer in. Okay, so how long does it take to get over a narcissistic relationship? The truth of the matter is, nobody can really answer that question for you. Everybody's journey is specific to them. We all come with our own history of trauma, We all come with our own history of resiliency factors, and we also experienced our own individual story within the relationship. It does take time, but if you add the work into it and you avoid some of these common mistakes, you will expedite the healing process. And healing from the narcissistic person is just step one. There are going to be things that you are going to continually work on, because these relationships should reveal things to you that show you like, whoa, what happened to me that allows me to accept these kind of behavior from individuals. Now that part does take a lot longer. Getting over the narcissistic person as an individual, though, that doesn't have to take super long. It's just we get stuck in these bad habits and we just want them to break or go away, and that doesn't happen. Bad habits don't break, they're replaced with better habits.